everybody, this is attorney Arkady Frekhtman, and welcome to Last Week Tonight, where we answer your questions and we talk about your comments. It's all about you, the viewer, in this episode. So let's get started. The first question is from Black Powerful, and he asks, can you talk about cases you had in Manhattan court? How are they? Yeah, I mean, Manhattan is really nothing to be afraid of. In fact, I've heard that after the pandemic, people have been getting really big verdicts in Manhattan. It's becoming a better venue because some venues are known to be conservative, like maybe Westchester, while others are known to be very good, like the Bronx. But also venues change, like Brooklyn maybe is becoming a little more conservative. It used to be better maybe a few years ago because a lot of maybe wealthier people from Manhattan are moving in, and a lot of the bankers or whoever tend to be a little bit more conservative. But Manhattan is actually not a bad venue as long as you have a good case, if you have serious injuries, and your lawyer spends time picking the right jury in the voir dire and the jury selection, you should be totally fine. So I would not worry about Manhattan. And in terms of cases we've had in Manhattan, yeah, sure. I mean, we've had all types of cases. We've had, in fact, we had one case with a car accident in Manhattan where the patient only treated for 2 months, and we thought it was a bad case because he had the same injury that he had in the car accident. He had that injury already from before, from playing sports. So we thought we were going to get maybe a defense verdict or a very low verdict, and we ended up getting a verdict for more than $500,000 for that client. And he never even had, he had a minor pain management procedure, like an in-office procedure, but it wasn't like a full-blown surgery. And we still got, I think it was $548,000. So that was one example. And there are a lot of other cases in Manhattan, like premises liability cases, ceiling collapse cases. We had another case where a lady fell in a walkway, and she was an older lady, like in her 70s, but she had a really bad elbow fracture where she had multiple surgeries, and we ended up settling that case before trial in Manhattan, and it went for almost $2 million. So yeah, Manhattan is not a bad venue at all. Okay, let's see what other questions we have. Oh, here, another question from an Araf Rahman, and he says, can you do a video on your firm's biggest cases? Yeah, sure. I mean, I could have to compile a list, spend a little time. I know one of the biggest cases we had was actually not by me, but one of our trial attorneys many years ago. He ended up getting a verdict of $69 million. I believe it was a case in the Bronx where a car was going and went against the railing and went up, and there was a head-on collision, and people died, and then people watched, family members watched people die. It was a horrible case, and he ended up getting a big verdict, like $69 million in the Bronx, and then it went up on appeal. I'm not sure exactly what happened. It was many years ago, but yeah, that was one of the biggest ones. And we've had others. I had one for like $4 million in a construction accident case, and we had another one for $2.8 million recently in a construction accident case. So we've had a few big ones, and hoping to get even bigger ones coming up. So we're preparing, we're learning, we're studying so we can go to court and get even bigger one in the future. It's all about the future. Okay, let's see what other questions we have. Another question also, what is the largest settlement or jury trial have you ever won in your career doing this? Yeah, so that's the same question. That's funny. So yeah, pretty much, yeah, I think those are pretty much the highest ones. The 69 million was the highest the firm got, and then mine was probably like, we had that one for 4, 2.8, and recently also that one for 2 million was a good one. That was actually a settlement in Manhattan. So, and let's see what other questions. Sabrina Alston, amazing of how you break things down. Your delivery is great. Glad I found this firm. Happy holidays, Attorney Frekhtman. Oh, thank you so much, and happy holidays to you, and happy New Year. And then we have Ricky Harris. I'm honestly thinking about taking my case to trial, no matter what the settlement offer is. There are just so many factors and proof of negligence liability on the storefront. My mental health went down, way down after this crash, not to mention not caring to fix the property. Okay, back to my coffee. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you might want to go to trial as long as you have like your ducks in a row, everything's prepped, you have a good trial attorney, somebody with experience, somebody who's not afraid, go to trial. You always get more at trial than you do with a settlement. And then Jacques Negatao says, you are a professional lawyer. Thank you so much. Gavin Newscomb says, make a record of the prior leak and or discoloration to the landlord. It establishes notice. No notice, you lose. Yeah, I mean, notice, he's responding to a video about how to win your ceiling collapse lawsuit and what is the case value. Yeah, you want to maybe just take a picture you just need to document any dangerous condition to show proof that the defendants knew about it. Because if the defendants knew about the condition before your ceiling collapse, but failed to fix it, then that's what's known as notice, right? They were on notice. They were, and then they could have fixed it because they were notified about it, but they chose not to. That was their choice that they made, and now you can win your case. And then what else do we have? Can you do the $2 billion verdict against Monsanto that was tried by attorney Brent Wisner? Oh, I think he's talking about maybe a Roundup case. Yeah, I think I actually watched that case. It was on CBN. So you could actually, that's the Courtroom View Network. You have to have a subscription, but you could actually watch some of the, and this was actually interesting. This attorney, I think that was like his first trial, but he was very good. And I watched his opening statement. I thought it was very good. He was relaxed. He was calm. He made a joke that he like shaved for this or something like that. And he did really well. He got $2 billion in his first case. You can't really argue with that. You know, so maybe I could do. I don't know if I have time to watch the entire trial because that was like Monsanto Roundup. That might have been like a 2-3 month trial. You'd have to be sitting there for 2 months watching the whole thing. But I could maybe read some kind of a summary and watch a little bit more of it, maybe the closing argument, and do a video about it. I'll try to do that, absolutely. Okay, and then Jacques again says, thanks for your knowledge, thank you. And then he says, Attorney Frekhtman, the most talented person helping those involved in car injuries. Thank you so much. And then we have a Dwayne Carter, happy holidays. Can a plaintiff's lawyer make a motion for summary judgment against the defendant's insurance company if they accept fault and the only argument is about how much they are willing to pay? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in New York, if you have, for example, a rear-end car crash, you could make a motion and then you're going to get summary judgment on liability, meaning the defendant who rear-ended you, the injured person. Let's say you're stopped at a red light, you get rear-ended. Obviously, you're not at fault. So why let that issue even go to a jury? Get a judgment now from a judge on the rear end. Now, from the date of the judgment, even if it happened, let's say yesterday, right? You got into a car crash yesterday. I file a lawsuit today. I have your affidavit. I'm stopped at a red light. I'm stopped for 30 seconds. The light is still red. I get rear-ended by this defendant, the bad guy, right? I can file a motion tomorrow, right away. Now, the judge is going to grant it, unless he's going to say something like you stop short or make up some other alternative theory. But if that doesn't exist, you're going to win. Now that you have summary judgment, the only question is how much to pay you for your injuries. What's fair and reasonable compensation? And you get 9% interest on the judgment. So if that happened yesterday, the crash, right, and you have a judgment, now you have a judgment. So it's going to push the insurance company to pay you. They're going to pay you because they don't want to get hit with that 9% interest. And then, by the time you put the case on the trial calendar, by the time you have the trial, that might be in another year, another 2 years. And then the jury says, okay, this person has serious injuries. They might have a fusion surgery, whatever, brain injury, whatever it is. It's worth $1 million, let's say. Well, now it's not $1 million, but it's $1 million plus 9% interest from the date of the summary judgment that you got, right? And you could get that like a few weeks after the accident. So that could be very, very powerful. Yeah, so you could definitely file for motions for summary judgment. We do that all the time. Okay. And then Ray asks, so what if the insurance company gives you a good offer the first time? Would it be smart to take it? Say if you were asking for $500,000 and they offer $375,000, would that be pretty fair? Yeah, I mean, really, it depends on the case and all the circumstances. Like $375,000 out of $500,000, if $500,000 is the policy and there's no way you can get more than $500,000, that's not bad. But you also have to, because you have to consider like going to trial. You might spend 2 weeks. And you might pay experts like, $20,000 for one expert and $10,000 for another expert. You might have to have safety engineers, economists, and plus you always have the risk of either losing or getting less. So if you're getting something like that, you're getting like 80% or something like that of the ultimate top number, then you might want to consider it, right? But if you feel like there's a lot more for you, then, so it's really like a case-by-case decision that you have to make. Yeah, okay. And then Postman writes, I was injured in a commercial vehicle accident. The other pickup truck that was at fault hit me head on, causing a couple of herniations, the worst being at my L4, L5, which required a discectomy and laminectomy. The company that hit me is worth billions, and I have full tort as well and run my own small construction company. My physical health has suffered, work has suffered, and I'm still in pain. What would you even guess my case could be worth? I mean, it's hard for me to say, but a discectomy, laminectomy, like here in New York, that could be worth well into the seven figures, $1 million or even more. Now, you say you have your own construction company. If you haven't been able to go back to work and you have lost profits, depending on what your construction company makes, that could be added into the equation, right? So you have economic damages as well as non-economic damages, which are pain and suffering, loss of enjoyment of life. But the economic damages are either the lost wages or the lost profits of your company. So if your company makes $1 million a year, well, you lost that, then that's $1 million right there, plus another few million for your pain and suffering, loss of enjoyment of life. So feel free to text me, 347-566-9595. I can get on a call with you, do a deep dive. It's a free consultation. And I don't even know where this happened, like what city or state. So, once I know that, I can give you more advice, or maybe help you find a lawyer, or, if you need me to, if I know who is representing you now, I could give you some advice about your lawyer, whether they're good or if they're not a trial lawyer and you need a trial lawyer. I'm happy to, vet that and find someone, help you curate, the best lawyer to get you the most money. Okay, and then Ray asks, can you do a story on the Fender Bender? How you guys got all that money for that guy? And he's talking about a Fender Bender case. The Fender Bender. I don't know which case he's talking about, Fender Bender. I mean, I guess there are a lot of cases that are like a Fender Bender. Oh, I think, okay, he's responding to a video, how to win your personal injury lawsuit in just one day. Oh, okay. So he might be talking about a summary jury trial, because the only way you can win your personal injury lawsuit in one day is if you have what's known as a summary jury trial. So you pick a jury and you have like 10 minutes for opening, 10 minutes for closing. Everything's done in one day. Oh, I think I think I know which one he's talking about. We did do a video about that, but I could do another one. That was a case in the Bronx where it was a little fender bender, but the guy had serious injuries and we ended up getting like $200,000. 200 something, I think 225,000, something like that. Yeah, I could do another case. I could do another video about that one. The video I did about that was a few years ago, because that case was a few years ago. It was like 3-4 years ago. I think it's somewhere here on YouTube. Maybe I'll link it if you want to watch the video. I'll try to link it in the description, or but if not, then I could just do another video about it. I have to go back and refresh my mind because that was a few years ago. But now at least I know what you're talking about. That's good. Okay, and then Franchise Q says, need to clean up. Good video though. And he's talking about secrets revealed, how to win maximum settlements in personal injury. Oh, I think he's talking about the one where I did with the selfie stick and I was in my office and it was my, post-COVID office. So it was a little messy. Yeah, definitely. Now it's a little bit better now. Okay. And people asking, where's the new episode? I've been waiting. I need your number because I got to have surgery on my back. Yeah, absolutely. Just text me, 347-566-9595. Feel free to text me anytime. I'll try to get back to you. I'm going to schedule a consult. Just let me know, like, when you text me, just include your name, the facts, like what happened, your injury information, your city and state, and then like when's the best time for a call. I'll try to accommodate you. And sometimes I'm in court or depositions or other things. I'm writing appeals. I'm doing a lot of things, so I can't always answer your call right away, but I'll do my best. The other thing we could do is, maybe I could set up like a Calendly link where I could set aside a certain time, right? Like for example, Monday and Tuesday from 4 to 5, kind of like office hours, right? And I could do a 15-minute consult call. So I could do, let's say, four 15-minute calls on Monday, 4 on Tuesday, 4 on Thursday. And then it's like, that's a lot. That's like 4 times 2. That's like 12 calls a week. That should be enough, hopefully. And then, or we could even do a video if anybody wants to come on and ask your questions. We could do a live video where you come on and you ask your questions here, and we could do a chat, like a Zoom, and we could put it live on YouTube. Or I could just appear live on YouTube and you guys can just comment and I'll just answer your questions live. That's pretty much what I'm doing now anyway, right? So you can come on and just text me and I'll answer your questions live. Maybe that's better because then we could interact, right? Like if I have follow-up questions, you could type it in, or you could we could figure out a way to answer your questions live. And if anybody doesn't want like their name or their details, of course, you keep things private. I'll honor that. I'll honor your wishes, whatever you prefer. Okay. And then someone writes, if you could get back in contact with me, I was injured on the FedEx job, Lancaster, Texas. 3 of my vertebrae and my back are damaged, and it's pushing down on my leg, causing pain to walk. I've been out of work for a month, but haven't heard anything from FedEx. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Just call me, text me. I'm happy to help with that. That sounds very, very serious. And FedEx is a great defendant because they're going to have a lot of insurance. And 3 vertebrae fracture like that should be a multi-million-dollar case for sure. Yeah, absolutely. And then Kiki Boxing for Life. Hello, I got on a T-bone accident. I was not at fault. I had lower back injuries, actually 3 lower back surgeries. The car accident caused more pain in my neck, my center. If my back, 2 discs popped out. I was in the hospital 10 days. Now I have a deposition after 2 years. Is my case solid? Can you tell me if my case is solid, or are they going to give me BS because of my old work injuries? Well, yeah, I mean, as long as you have new injuries that are from the car crash, as long as your doctors say that these injuries are from the car crash. You could have injuries before. Everybody has something, right? Nobody's like a perfect Olympian, like I'm a perfect Superman, like I'm not, I have no injuries. Everybody, has injuries from living their life. But the point is that you're pain-free, right? You're not going to have surgery just like randomly. You don't just wake up one day, hey, it's a coincidence, I'm going to go and have a fusion. But this car crash is what precipitated or caused, was a substantial factor in bringing about the need for medical care, for physical therapy, and for surgeries and fusions. So that's the cause. As long as your doctors say that, you should be fine. But yeah, text me as well if you have any other questions. Happy to do a consult. And then Ella Daz says, thank you for sharing and stating facts that can help people understand that they do have rights under the Constitution. Yeah, thank you so much. Absolutely. I mean, that's what it's all about. We are here to help people obtain civil justice, and that is a right that everyone has. It's the right to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? Because if you lose your enjoyment of life, now you can't pursue happiness. That is a right under the Constitution, and the 7th Amendment gives you the right to a trial by jury. So absolutely, that's what it's about. It's about justice. Okay, and then Ricky Harris says, been waiting for days for another good video, Mr. Frekhtman. Very good information. And I'm very glad that you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. This is one of our regular. And then Ray says, me too. I've been sharing all the videos. Thank you. Those are 2 of our regular viewers. And then Ms. Mills says, always good, clear understanding content. Thanks a lot. Thank you. Good stuff as always from Gideon Yaw. Thank you as well. And then Custom Christopher says, hey, I left you a comment last week. I was the guy that got hit by the FedEx truck, and I just got back today from pain management and received an epidural in my L7. And now that I'm home, I hurt worse than before I left. What could I be looking at as far as financially? Yeah, absolutely. Just text me, 347-566-9595. I think I actually spoke with this individual. I know I spoke with somebody while I was down in Florida over the vacation. I spoke with somebody. I gave them a consult. I think they already have an attorney, but I just gave them a consult and gave them my 2 cents about what I thought. And it was a very nice person, and I wish them the best of health, full recovery, and full justice. That's what it's all about. Get full justice. Okay, Sylvia Whitlock says, I had a disc that ruptured. I had a lumbar fusion done on my lower back. A year later, I had to have surgery again because the fusion didn't heal correctly. After the second fusion, 2 days later, I suffered severe burning in my legs. I was left with severe nerve damage in my left leg and foot. Now I have a drop foot, which requires me to wear an AFO for the rest of my life. I've had a total of 5 back surgeries, 4 on the lower back and 1 last one at the top. I was not hurt in an accident or on the job. Is there anything that can be done? Yeah, I mean, I need to know where this happened, when exactly it happened, but it sounds like it might be a medical malpractice against the doctor. So we would need to get all the medical records, review them, and then show them to a medical expert, like another surgeon that we know that we work with, that can then tell us if there's a case against the doctor who did your procedure. And if there is medical negligence, then we would have to file a lawsuit. So yeah, feel free to text me as well, 347-566-9595. Then Candy Sloan says, can you help being my lawyer? I had a brain injury. Please let me know ASAP. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, possibly, I don't know what the case is about, but I'd be happy to help you. Either I could be the lawyer or I could work partner with a local lawyer if you're somewhere else, like not in New York. But yeah, just text me, 347-566-9595, and I'd be happy to help any way I can. That's what we're here for. Okay, I'm sorry to hear about the brain injury. And then we have somebody talking about, just talking about all their injuries. And I said, I'm also very, very sorry to hear that, wishing you all the best. Ms. Mills says, I click every time I see a new post, LOL. And I told them Happy New Year, thank you for watching. And no, that's great that people are enjoying the videos and they're watching every time they see a video. And then Gunny says, this man is the real deal. He helped me with my process in a completely different state and set me up with one of the best firms in Georgia. Thanks so much for being real and for caring. You are amazing. Oh, thank you. I'm happy I could help. Yeah, absolutely. In Georgia, I know some excellent lawyers. I know a lot of different lawyers. I'm not sure which lawyer he's referring to. It might be a trucking lawyer. I know a really good truck accident lawyer in Georgia that I might have set him up with. And then I know a lot of other firms, like for different types of cases, smaller firms. There's a lot of excellent lawyers around Atlanta and other parts of Georgia. So I'm happy to help if anyone needs a lawyer. But yeah, I'm glad that I was able to help. Okay, and then Ms. Mills says, I'm so excited you're starting with my comment next video. I will still text you the details as well. Yeah, I think I talked about it in one of the last videos, but I needed a little more information. So I think this person was going to text me and give me a little bit more detail. And let's see what else we have. We have a lot of happy holidays. And then we have Kathleen Huff. I have a friend who had his spine fused. It started with bladder cancer that resulted in chemo that deteriorated his spine. Now he can hardly get around. He regrets getting that surgery. Oh, I'm really sorry to hear that. I don't know if the fusion could cause that or if that was from the bladder cancer, but yeah, it's terrible. Huh? And then we said, Elena Cintron talks about what can I do in response to this video that's called, what can I do if my lawyer never calls me back? Trial stories. She says, like you said, regardless, the first lawyer is going to get paid. That's why they don't give a damn if you switch. Well, you know, the first lawyer can get paid, but remember, it's based on the proportionate share of the work, right? So if the lawyer just gets the case and it's a great case, but the lawyer, you know, doesn't call you back and you switch right away, that lawyer is not going to get very much. If the case ends up getting for $10 million and the other lawyer, the second lawyer, does all the work from filing the lawsuit to taking it to trial, the first lawyer is going to get either nothing or like, you know, I don't know, $1,000. So they do care. I mean, they should care. It's not all about the money. It's not all about getting paid. It's really about helping others, and it's really about how you view the world and how you view yourself and others. So, you know, I can't really comment on other people and everyone's different, but for me, like, I really like this. I enjoy it. It's a passion. So I think that's horrible that somebody would only be in it for the money like that. Okay. Polar Bear Toes. Are you familiar with Geico Indemnity Insurance Company, and what are the policy limits on spinal fusion and PTSD? Yeah, I'm very familiar with Geico. I mean, policy limits could range anywhere from $25,000 as a low all the way up to like $5 million or more. Policy limits aren't based on an injury. They're not set by the injury someone gets in a crash. They depend on what the policyholder purchases when they first obtain the insurance. So if I wanted to buy insurance like today, I can call Geico and they could say, hey, you can get a $25,000 policy. It'll cost you, I don't know, like $100. Or you could buy a, you know, $5 million policy. That'll cost you a little more. That'll cost you like $500. You know, so then you just choose which one you can afford and what kind of coverages you purchase. So that's usually what it is. Okay. And then somebody's asking about a case in California for $12 million. Oh, that might have been the video I did, yeah, about the case in California. That was from a CLE, a continuing legal education. And I talked about a case where somebody had, I think it was like a soft tissue injury, but they still got 12 million. Yeah, absolutely. I could. I think they wanted an update of the continuous training or case name docket. Now, I don't know if I can get the case name or the docket because the case is over and it wasn't videotaped, but it was just the lawyer who tried the case. It was actually a few lawyers that tried it. I think it was like 2 or 3 lawyers. They did a CLE. It was on Trial Lawyers University. That's one of the groups I belong to. And they talked about it. So if you have any specific questions about that case, just let me know and I could try to go back and review that and answer them for you. Okay, and then Evelyn says, I rent and my ceiling collapsed, but we did not get hurt. Can we sue? Yeah, you could sue for property damage. Like, for example, if the ceiling collapsed on like your TV and you broke your like, $5,000 TV, you can get $5,000 for the property damage. We don't do those kind of cases. We mostly do injury, but you could definitely sue either yourself in small claims court or with a lawyer that does maybe property damages cases. And then Ray says, my question is, why do lawyers petition the court for like $10,000 or $75,000 or more and get a settlement for far more or even less than they petition the court? I'm confused. And I said, I'm not sure what you mean by petition the court. When a lawsuit is filed, the lawyers just have like boilerplate templates and they say, I'm suing for like $1 million. But then whatever number the jury ends up giving could be more or less. And then he says, if your damages are excessive of $75,000, how much a lawyer would be going after like for a lawsuit for a brain injury? Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, lawsuits, it used to be in New York that people would put all sorts of numbers in it's known as the ad damnum, I think ad damnum clause, right? That's what you're asking for, right? What you think the lawsuit is worth, where you say, whereas plaintiff demands a judgment for, 1 million, 10 million, 100 million. And people would put all sorts of numbers, right? Like one guy would put 1 million, somebody else would put 10 million, somebody would put 100 million. And then the newspapers would report, hey, this guy's suing for 150 million. This guy's suing for 500 million. And then lawyers might put in like 1 billion because they want to get into the newspaper. And so they changed the rule. Now we don't put numbers into our complaints. What we do now is we just say for an amount that exceeds the jurisdictional limits of all lower courts, which means that, see, in the Supreme Court in New York, that's the trial court in New York. So when you sue in the Supreme Court, it just has to be, I think, 50,000 or more, right? Because from 0 to 50,000 is the civil court, and that has a smaller jurisdictional limit because you can't get more than 50,000 in the civil court if you file a lawsuit in that court. But in the Supreme Court, it's from 50,000 is the lowest. I mean, you could get obviously less if the case is worth less, but the point is that there's no ceiling in the Supreme Court, right? It could be like billions and billions, trillions, whatever, gazillions. There's no limit. So that's why people just say for that an amount that exceeds a jurisdictional limit of the lower court, which is the civil court, and then there is no limit. So then whatever the jury gives you, whatever settlement you agree to. So it doesn't matter what you put in the complaint. And they got rid of that because it was really like misleading, and it was like really it was causing a lot of friction because number one, lawyers were putting all different numbers. One lawyer was putting 1 million, the other one was putting, like I said, like hundreds of millions. And then also the insurance industry was then using it to say, oh, look at all these greedy plaintiffs lawyers. So the plaintiffs lawyers were like shooting themselves in the foot because they were filing like, say, a stupid case, like somebody, drank like a soda and they had like a stomach upset from a soda bottle or whatever. They went to McDonald's and they saw like a bug in their burger, and then they would sue for like 500 billion. And then people were like, look at these lawyers, like, making fun of them. And then it hurts people who are truly injured. It prevents them from getting justice. So they get away with all that. Okay, Mina AM says, thank you for your videos. If you have 2 insurances, one from work and another one from the insurance market, can you get compensation from both? I mean, if there's multiple insurance policies that are applicable to your loss, you can obtain from both. But with work, it's usually one or the other, because if you're working, it might be workers' comp, right? And then workers' comp will cover you. If you're not working, then it's the insurance market. It's your personal auto insurance. Then you can do that one. But it's usually not both. So it just depends on the specific situation. But yeah, feel free to text me. I'm happy to do a deeper consultation, like a more full consultation. And then TR says, had a failed posterior neck surgery for 3 herniated discs, continued pain and numbing in both hands, have bilateral carpal tunnel surgery, failed, continued tingling and numbing, left shoulder severe pain and numbing, shoulder blade, deltoid bicep pain, cubital tunnel syndrome, pain with shooting down the right leg, foot freezing, lower sagittal pain, SIR plus umbrella policy, self-insured company, policy for $2 million in 2015. Should I request for this? Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to say, the injuries are very, very serious. So you could request a big amount, you could request multiple millions, but I'd have to know like what happened, how you got hurt. So it's always better to just text me and we can get into that. We can get into the specifics. Then Young's World says, me and my girlfriend were T-boned and pushed into the telephone pole. He was a passenger. And the case was going on for 11 months, had his IME in deposition. But the other day, his girlfriend got served papers from the PIP, that's the personal injury protection, the no-fault insurance, and that was nationwide. They got a lawyer. Why are they attacking my girlfriend and not the guy who hit us? Yeah, you know, I'm not exactly sure. I think he said this happened in Michigan. Now, Michigan has no fault, just like New York. It might be something with the doctors where it could be that the policy of the car for no fault was already exhausted, you know, because no fault isn't never ending. No fault in New York, it's up to 50,000. I'm not sure what the limits are in Michigan. And then what happens is if that 50,000 was exhausted and the doctors want to do more treatment and get more payment, perhaps they can go and stack a policy of somebody in the household. So that's why they might be going after her policy. She might have another household auto. Or sometimes what happens is the person who has the no fault or the PIP, that person, they might sign and they might assign, it's like an assignment of benefits. So they assign the benefits to the medical provider. So then the medical providers want to get paid, so that's why they might be able to. So I'd have to really read the lawsuit. The lawsuit, now, if you show that lawsuit to your lawyer should be able to tell you what it is because they'll just read the lawsuit. The lawsuit will tell you what they're suing for, but without reading the lawsuit, it's kind of hard for me to guess. But that's some of the issues that could happen with a household policy, yeah, because. Or if your lawyer filed a lawsuit against, against the defendant, they could also be counterclaiming, but it wouldn't be the PIP coverage, it would be the other car. Like if you filed a lawsuit against the other car and your girlfriend was the one driving, they could counterclaim against her saying she was partially at fault too. So that could be another possibility. Okay. And then somebody has a comment about something about lawyers being millionaires and his granddaughter is going to school for medical school. I'm not sure what the point of this is. I mean, yeah, lawyers are all different. I mean, look, some lawyers could be multimillionaires. Sure, some lawyers could be billionaires. And other lawyers, just work in legal aid and they get like a small salary, like, I don't know, $50,000 a year or whatever. So, and some lawyers work pro bono for free. So it's just like anything. And, I told him that absolutely good luck to your granddaughter. That's great that she's going to medical school and she's studying hard and she wants to be, I think, I'm not sure what, I think something about board certification and she wants to be a doctor. So that's great. That's good. Okay. And then Ricky says, Arkady, we need more videos. You may be working on another one right now as we speak. And I said, absolutely. I'm going to do the last week tonight, which is these videos to get caught up. And then after that, we'll get some new topics and new ideas. And Ms. Mills says, I sure will text you the details. Thank you so much. You're an awesome lawyer. My case is in Massachusetts. Absolutely. Another great way to reach me, and I put the link, is this link called Formaloo. You can just fill out. It basically has the same information like name, facts, injury information. And then you can put your email and number just so I have your contact, and then we could schedule a consult. And then H. Chambers says, great video. I have a question. I'm on a workers' comp injury, but was injured from a third party. After my personal injury settlement, I will owe a workers' comp lien to the insurance. My question is, are insurance companies of workers' comp claims easier to work with and more open of medical approvals, knowing that they're going to recoup some of their money back? Thanks so much. Yeah, I mean, they are easier to work with. I mean, the way it works is, look, if you have workers' comp, so you have a workers' comp carrier, that's an insurance carrier. It's the insurance carrier for your employer. They're paying doctors to give you medical care. They're also paying your lost wages. They get a lien because, if you're getting paid your medical bills and you're also getting paid your lost salary, and then you recover that again, let's say the lost salary in the third-party action, but they've already spent that money, they want to get that money back. Now in New York, you could negotiate with them, you could lower it, you could also sometimes get a complete waiver, it just depends. But absolutely, they will negotiate with you. You can recoup some of that money back. But there is a law, it's a little bit antiquated. Basically, the idea is they don't want you to double dip. They don't want you to get a double recovery. So that's why they give them a lien, and also you have to get their consent before you settle the third-party action, and you have to get it in writing. So I don't know if this is in New York or if it's in another state, but absolutely, you can negotiate with them. I don't know if they're necessarily easier than the third-party insurance companies. I mean, insurance companies are insurance companies. A lot of the times the workers' comp carriers are the same companies as the third-party carriers. Like, for example, I know like AmTrust, I think, does workers' comp, and Nationwide does workers' comp. There's a lot of the same companies that you see in the third-party sphere. Sometimes, actually, with the workers' comp, they just aren't so responsive. They're not so timely, you know? So you might call them, you might send them a letter, an email, they just don't respond. So workers' comp is very, like, in New York at least, it's very slow. It's very like they go before this judge and the judge has to approve everything. And it's like these administrative hearings. I don't know. I don't really like it. I don't do workers' comp myself. I usually have an attorney, or I work with a few different firms that do the workers' comp aspect of it, because ultimately, really, it's just like insurance, right? They're just getting you your medical bills paid, like health insurance, and then they're getting you your lost salary. So it's just a method of payment. Like if you had no fault would just cover it. And you wouldn't need a lawyer for no fault. But workers' comp, you have to get a lawyer just to get the same result. And it's slower. It's way slower than no fault. So, but it's just, it is what it is until they change the law. So yeah, and then Black Powerful says, thanks for the talk. And then he says, you just gave me more confidence. Thanks a lot. No, thank you. And then Gideon Yah says, breakfast in hand, watching this video. Oh, thank you so much for making us part of your day. And Ricky Harris says, yes, this man is so knowledgeable and knows his craft, and also very caring and helping, which is hard to find these days. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate that. That's so kind for you to say. Thank you. And then Ricky Harris again says, beautiful work. And he says, it can be pretty difficult at times to get a good jury, especially people that don't believe in getting involved in something that involves millions and a jury. Yeah, absolutely, exactly. If a person doesn't believe in millions of dollars for pain and suffering, you don't want them on the jury because you did, right? Because look, if they don't believe in millions of dollars for pain and suffering, in fact, you know, I like to say many millions of dollars for pain and suffering, if it's against their belief, right, the way they see the world, because we all come into a case with who we are and who we want to become in the future. Who I am today, who I was, my history, who I am, my thoughts, my beliefs. It's not good or bad, it's just who I am and who I want to be in the future. So if part of me, right, as a juror is that I don't believe in many millions of dollars for pain and suffering, if, for example, a jury of 6 people in New York were to allow for 10 million and there was a verdict for 10 million, and I was to go home and I was to tell my wife, or someone was to go home and tell her husband, hey, I was on a jury and we gave 10 million, and that wife or husband would say, are you crazy? What were you thinking? Oh, you're part of that tort reform. Oh, that's all a bunch of BS, those greedy lawyers. See, if the person can't do that, if they don't want to do that, that's fine. That's fine. That's just who they are. It's totally fine. In fact, you want to thank them for telling you that, right? For being brutally honest. And then you want to let them go home and you don't want them on your jury. Because the worst thing you can do is have them sit on your jury, present your case, right? Pay doctors $20,000 to come in, talk about medical records and specifics about spinal fractures and impingements and, you know, and then claim lost earnings. But you're talking to a brick wall. You're never going to get any money. So why waste your time, you know? So that's very, very important. That's one of the most important things. And then Ricky Harris says, I'm guessing the best way is to wait it out until all necessary medical treatment has been fulfilled and accomplished as much as possible and no further surgeries. But what if I need further surgeries down the road from others I've already had and it goes over that 2-year statute of limitations? Well, no, I think I answered this before. You could pretty much, I would file the lawsuit as soon as you know what your medical diagnosis is. Now, if you end up needing further surgeries, it's all, you know, from the original injury. You can't really get a new injury, right? Like if I fall, let's say, and I break my left arm, I might have, you know, other surgeries or other things. But it's not like I can't sue for my right, you know, left pinky because I never hurt my right left pinky, right? So as whatever happens from that original injury, that's all fine. It has to flow from that original injury. But yeah, you can always add to the case. And even if you don't know, sometimes people for example, get into a car crash, right? And they have a herniated disc and the doctor says, you need to get a fusion, but they don't want to get a fusion. They're just afraid. But the doctor says, look, they might be afraid today, but ultimately they're going to need that fusion. There's no escaping it. So they're young, they're like 28. They don't want to get the fusion now. But when they're 60, when they're 50, they're going to get that fusion. So then you just add that to the case and you say in the future, they're going to need this surgery. The cost of the surgery is $100,000 plus the future pain and suffering from the surgery. So you can still claim it. You just add it to the case that way. Okay, and then Ray says, Jay-Z Florida was talking about a $14 million case and she was still doing her daily activities and still won. And I said, awesome, love to see injured people get justice. And then he says, I'm not trying to be rude, but you think certain people get better results based on who they are? She was a white woman with 3 kids, and I read that sometime based on how attractive you are and they give you good verdicts, that's messed up. Well, I mean, yeah, one of the factors is whether the jury likes you. It does play a role. It just really depends on the demographic of who the jurors are, how they make group decisions, right? Because it's a group decision. The 12 jurors, or in New York, we have 6 jurors in civil cases, how they make decisions, And then, of course, the evidence and also how the plaintiff testifies and presents him or herself, that's very important. And, I could do a video to discuss that more specifically. That's a really good question. But ultimately, look, in New York, he's saying because, she was a white woman, maybe it happened. I think that was the case in Florida. Yeah, maybe she was a nice woman and she had like in Florida, she did better than say like an African-American person would have done. But here in New York, we have like the opposite, like say somewhere in the Bronx, we actually have the opposite. Like some of the defense lawyers, if you go to the Bronx and you have an African-American client, what the defense insurance companies will do, they'll put like an African-American lawyer there because they want to because a lot of the jurors are African-American or maybe Hispanic. So it's actually the opposite. And they end up giving a lot of money to plaintiffs, right? So then they might play that. The insurance company might wants to be liked, I don't really think they're not supposed to consider race. Look, there's even a jury charge saying you're not supposed to consider race and you're supposed to forget about like implicit bias or things like that. But ultimately, people are people, right? We don't know. All we can do is do our best. We can try to read people. We can try to ask them open-ended questions. We get to talk to them in jury selection. But ultimately, somebody could be either like racist or making decisions based on either race or whether they like somebody. That's something that the legal system can't control 100%, unfortunately. And then he also says, what if a lawyer is afraid to put you on the stand because you can't articulate well? I try to process things, but I can't get things out like I used to. Well, yeah, if somebody has a brain injury, then a lot of the times the lawyer won't call them at all. They'll just call other people, like their family members, friends, because if it's a serious brain injury and the person can't talk, they might not have to testify at all. And then Joe says, great job, my friend. Thank you so much. And the final comment or question is from Rosa Carolina Stutzman. And she says, I'm in California. I had shoulder surgery and going to have ACDF surgery. My lawyer told me that my case is going to be different in case I get better after the surgery. Does that mean less money? The state doctor gave me 77 disability. I'm confused. And she's responding to the lawsuit value of a spinal fusion surgery. What is my case worth series? Yeah, if you're in California, probably the best thing to do would be to text me and I can maybe get you a consult with a local California lawyer because I know a lot of excellent California lawyers. I don't know California law because I'm in New York, so I don't want to tell you the wrong thing. But look, a shoulder surgery and an anterior cervical discectomy and fusion, that should be a big, big case. That should be a multi-million-dollar case. And I don't think it should be less because you get better after the surgery. And the fact that you had the ACDF is enough. No one's expecting somebody after an ACDF to always be, hurt or always be like paralyzed. The whole point of the surgery is to get you better, but it's still worth a lot. There was a verdict for almost 10 million in New York for one level ACDF. So you could definitely get big verdicts without a permanent, I don't know what that means, getting better, but you want to get better. So yeah, I think you should be fine, but always text me if you have any questions. And I'll put a reply here as well. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. So we're up to date. We've answered every question as of today, which is January 4th, 2023. It's Wednesday, and we've answered every question. So we're up to date. So now we're going to start 2023 off right, and we're going to have new questions. And we're going to do that for you in the next episode. Okay. Thank you so much. Like and subscribe to our channel. Let us know what questions you have. If I gave you a consult and spoke with you, look in the description. We have a little link. You could leave us a review, like a few kind words. It doesn't have to be long. It could be any Gmail address. Just leave us like a few words. It's helpful because then people are able to find us. People who are looking for a lawyer are more likely to find us if we have reviews. So we're asking our clients, we're asking anyone we've consulted with or given legal advice to leave us reviews, because we have multiple offices. We have, downtown Manhattan, midtown Manhattan. We have Bronx. We have Bedford-Stuyvesant in North Brooklyn. We have this office, which is Bensonhurst in South Brooklyn. We have a Queens office. So we need reviews for all these offices, and then we'll be able to help more people and deliver justice. Okay, talk to you soon. Have a great day, and thank you.